Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do, but it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you, when judgment comes for you, tell me what you gonna do, when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you, 'cause it's gonna come for you.
Making it for water, easy, see something Charlie. Little boo guy's got him, and I'm gonna miss everybody out of row and flow like I ain't looked at a while. Like I'm praying for dust, and they play too deep for being sad. Little legs I got to be. Tell me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand, when you can go follow
God bless you.
Back on Wrestling Network. Welcome back to the CrosUp, weekly look back at the week that was in professional wrestling. This week I'll be looking through the results and happenings from Collision on 11/30 or November 30th to SmackDown on December 6th, as well as the Survivor Series pay-per-view. I'm going to go ahead and cover Deadline next week, just to, kind of separate the shows. Sometimes I can't help it, but when I can, I try to kind of separate them so I don't overload myself. But we're going to be talking about Survivor Series on this one as well. But Collision actually starts things out. They actually had Collision and Rampage both on Saturday. Collision was on at like 3 in the afternoon. I don't know what they were trying to particularly accomplish with that. I guess maybe avoid Survivor Series, but based on what I saw on Twitter, the change in time and the change in it was really just a change in time. It did not work out for them. I think they had like less than 200,000 viewers or something like that. So they either didn't advertise it particularly well, or it was just a bad timing decision in the middle of the day on the Saturday. So very weird. But to start the show, Will Ospreay defeats Juice Robinson via pinfall with the Hidden Blade. I believe this was a Continental Classic match. And this actually knocks Juice Robinson out. He's injured going forward, and Commander replaces him in the Continental Classic. But this gets Will Ospreay 3 points to kind of start the competition out. We then get Mariah May. She says she and Mina Shirakawa are closer than ever because Mina loves America and wants to be champion. And if that's what she wants, for her to come take the title if she wants it that bad. Mina can bleed and cry, but she can't say May didn't love her. We then get Private Party and Mystico defeating the MXM Collection and Johnny TV when Private Party hits the gin and juice on Johnny. Anna Jay then talks about her career going up and down, but she's lost everything based on the fact that she lost her match to Mariah May, which will allow her to never challenge for that title again. There are other titles, though, and she can take a big swing at some of them. And she said that she's usually the one saying for people to try her, but maybe it's time for her to try someone else. We then get Kyle Fletcher defeating the Beast Mortos via pinfall, following a brainbuster. I believe this is also a Continental Classic. I didn't make notation of this for some reason, but I believe this is also a Continental Classic match, so this gets Fletcher 3 points as well. And then recap Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole entering the Battle Royal to get a chance at MJF. The Undisputed Kingdom then ask O'Reilly to respect them and let them finish this. O'Reilly says he respects the plan, even though they seem to not understand what that means. So just continued friction between O'Reilly and Cole ahead of the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal for a chance to face each other, to face MJF. So it's a big process. We'll get through it, but they have a big Battle Royal that they need to win come on Wednesday. We get highlights after that of the International Championship match from Full Gear. Don Callis says he's proud of Takeshita and all that he has accomplished this year, but 2025 is going to be even greater for him. We then get the Outrunners defeating the Iron Savages when they hit Total Recall on Bronson. We then get Max Caster. His jacket is all ripped up based off of Swerve kicking his ass on Dynamite the previous week. But then he says he wants to face Swerve on Dynamite this upcoming week. So he says, as the leader of the Acclaimed, he gave the rest of the team the week off, especially after Bowens lost at Full Gear, even though I'm pretty sure in that match, Max takes the pin. So continuing to think he's the greatest wrestler in the world and kind of starting to have some friction with Billy and Anthony. We then get Hangman Page defeating Wheeler Yuta via pinfall following the Deadeye. After the match, Page kind of glares at the Death Riders and wraps a chair around Yuta. Seems to be trying to take him out. Jay White then comes out, gives Yuta a Blade Runner, and says he's coming for the world title. We then get Thunder Rosa. She kind of plugs the later on tonight that they're going to have like a Lucha Libre Rampage, a very specific show with all Lucha Libre talent performing throughout. It suggests she wants a women's title match when they get to Winter is Coming, which is an upcoming Dynamite episode. We then get Christopher Daniels. He talks to Hangman Page, tells him to be the man that AEW needs, and then Page says he doesn't want to hear it from an old man like Christopher Daniels. Then Mina Shirakawa defeats Layla Gray via pinfall, following the Glamorous Driver. We then get Willow Nightingale. She says she is ready to put in the work and win the Women's International Cup at Wrestle Dynasty, which she's in a semifinal to possibly qualify for the AEW spot in that little match at Wrestle Dynasty. And then we go to our main event where Okada and Daniel Garcia fight to a time limit draw in their Continental Classic match. And then after the match, Garcia goes for a handshake, but Okada shoots him the double birds instead. So that gives them 1 point each in the Continental Classic. So a draw gets you 1 point, a victory gets you 3, and then a loss obviously gets you none. But I thought Fletcher and Mortos, these Continental Classic matches are probably going to be a lot of the top fives going forward, just as long as they exist, because they give them a lot of time. They are all very good. But out of the 3 tonight, I thought Ospreay versus Robinson was really good, and that main event was good as well. But I would give the edge to Fletcher and Mortos. I just think Fletcher's kind of on a different level right now. They're presenting him really well, and he's living up to the potential that I think they have in him. So. Good match with him and Mortos. And Mortos is kind of he's just a cool guy. Like he's such a big, like imposing, like just a figure. And he can just do some crazy lucha spots, but he also can do some power stuff. So really, really cool guy to see compete. So, and like I said, Fletcher's on another level right now. So I think he'll double feature in the top 5 later. So, well, then we go to Rampage. From there, we get the match between Thunder Rosa and Harley Graham, where Thunder Rosa wins. She gets a pinfall after a package slam. It's obviously revealed throughout the match that Harley Graham is Harley Cameron. Of course, her mask eventually comes off. So, but then we get Mercedes in the back. Or Mercedes Moné, I should say. She says she doesn't want to hear about Camille, but she wants some more championship gold, and she's going to figure out a way that she can get some more of that. We then get a 6-man tag where Atlantis Jr., Mascara Dorado, and I think it's actually Mascarita Dorado, but I'll double check that before I get out of here. And then Shibata teams with them, and they defeat Top Flight and Action Andretti when Dorado hits a shooting star press on Andretti. We then get video of the kind of Hook versus the Patriarchy rivalry, and then Nick Wayne cuts a little promo, says he's ready to face Hook at Hammerstein Ballroom. We then get the Beast Mortos defeating Serpentico via pinfall following a discus lariat. They then cut to the back where we see Camille laid out after an apparent attack, but we don't ever see or hear who it might have possibly been. Obviously, it would lead you to think that maybe it was Mercedes, but we have not quite figured out who that is yet. So we'll see where that kind of goes throughout the next few weeks. We then get video of the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal and just a bunch of different people wanting to get their hands on MJF, just all the competitors that might be featured in that, including Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, of course. We then get, in our main event, we get Hinchicero defeating Commander via pinfall following a running head scissors driver, which was a really solid match. Commander's usually, it seems to be the main eventer on Rampage most weeks, but he takes the L to AAA star Hinchicero here, and it was a solid match. But that 6-man with Atlantis, Dorado, and Shibata beating Top Flight and Action Andretti would be my match of the night Rampage. But we'll move from there to Survivor Series. We open with the Women's War Games. We get the team of Naomi, Rhea Ripley, Bayley, Io Sky, and Bianca Belair defeating Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. Like I said, in the Women's War Games match when Rhea hits an avalanche riptide through a table on Liv Morgan. So this match, I think it built really well towards the end, and I think it got a lot better as it went. But they made the decisions to start with Bailey versus Nia Jax, which Bailey's fine. Bailey's a good worker. But her and Nia just have like negative chemistry with each other. And I've heard some things on the internet saying they kind of went with Nia because their team didn't have the advantage and the faces had the advantage. So they want to get their most imposing person in there at first to kind of dominate. But the decision to put Nia in there first and have her go 30 to 45 minutes is absolutely the most insane thing that they could have done in this situation. I mean, I get strategy, but you're also talking about pro wrestling at the same point at the same time. When you going into the grand scheme of things, I mean, you're going to eventually have 10 women in there, so I think she can kind of come in and dominate later on. I don't think they need to build that dominance early. Or start with Raquel. Like I trust Raquel a little bit more, but it just started so poorly, and I think it took a while to kind of get its feet under it. So this match, though, like I said, kind of finished well, definitely started very poorly and very rough. A lot of botched spots. It seems like at some points they tried to find weapons under the ring that they couldn't find. So it might have just like been a whole big production mess up at the same time too, with some of it, but just seemed very off. The camera angles seemed to kind of put them in unadvantageous spots at certain points. But just the idea of starting Nia in the match and in there with Bailey, who like they've been feuding for forever, so nobody really is interested in that starting situation. So yeah, just a rough one. But like I said, it kind of built better towards the end. But it was the worst match of the night. I won't lie, and that's not good when it's a big War Games match that probably should have been better than it was. But I will get off my soapbox now. But we go to our next match where Shinsuke Nakamura becomes the new United States champion. He defeats LA Knight via pinfall with the Kinshasa. So kind of a shock there. LA Knight seems to have been doing pretty well with the U.S. title. He's had some really good defenses, but I think they just want to kind of move him on to maybe other things, see if they can kind of build him back up, maybe headed towards the Rumble. He could maybe be like an outside chance of being a world title contender by Mania, or he could just go into a bigger match than maybe a U.S. title would allow him to kind of be into. So, but cool to see Knock come back and get a championship win. But we'll see if they kind of fumble this like they have with some of his previous situations. But hopefully not. He seems like he's been doing some good stuff, and Knight did some good stuff with the U.S. title, but I don't think it was necessarily like doing gangbusters for him being the U.S. champion. But got him some gold, got him an accomplishment that he can kind of hang his hat on. Then we'll go to the IC title match where Braun Breaker defeats Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser. He hits spears on both of them, but decides to cover Sheamus to retain his IC title. So maybe Ludwig has a gripe to say he didn't get pinned, so maybe he could get another shot. So we'll see where that goes. And then we get our World Heavyweight Championship match where Gunther defeats Damian Priest via submission when Priest once again passes out in the sleeper. And it was once again like SummerSlam because Finn Balor came out and attacked Damian Priest, hit the coup de grace off the steps and threw him in to get choked out by Gunther to finish the match. And then we get our men's War Games match where the OG bloodline of Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, and Sami Zayn, along with CM Punk, defeat Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, Jacob Fatu, and Bronson Reed. When Roman finishes Solo off with a spear after pretty much the entire OG bloodline had hit their finishers on Solo as well. But Roman gets the last shot and hits the spear and gets the win. And then after the match, Roman and Punk shake hands despite not being friends or not even really liking each other. Punk talks to Heyman as they walk out, says he's coming for his favor soon. And then they kind of all go back to the entrance area and pose in the entrance area as the show goes off the air. A solid card. Nothing was just like absolutely blow away, I would say. Like I said, that opener was pretty poor. But I thought the U.S. title match was good. The Intercontinental title match was very good as well. And the World Heavyweight Championship match was solid enough. I mean, I don't think it blew anything out of the water or anything like that. I think their SummerSlam match was a little better. But a really solid and very storyline driven men's War Games. That would get match of the night for me. But you could convince me that the IC title match was probably a little better in ring wise. But I think the story and just all that was going into the men's War Games kind of puts that one over the top. So solid show. But like I said, nothing really super blow away, which having 2 War Games may not be the best thing, but I think the men's War Games definitely came to play for sure. But we'll move from there to Raw. CM Punk is on his way to the ring, but stops to shake Jey Uso and Sami Zayn's hands in the backstage. In the ring, he says he left WWE for a bit after Bad Blood, but now he's back and knows where he wants to go. And he kind of points to the sky like he's pointing to the WrestleMania sign. And, obviously implying that that's where he wants to go. He said maybe he gets there through the Rumble or the Elimination Chamber. But as soon as he says this, Seth Rollins comes out. They kind of stare each other down until Rollins says he should have knocked Punk out the day that he returned at last year's Survivor Series. He says a lot has happened in a year since Punk came back, but the last time they saw each other, Rollins had pity on him because he was injured. And he was going through the thing with Drew McIntyre. And now it's time to rectify those problems, and there's nothing between them but air and hatred. Punk then says he's long past running races, and he didn't know he was in. He said 6 months ago Rollins was champion, and now he has nothing that Punk wants. Rollins thinks that Punk thinks about Punk for 6 months, while Punk never thinks about Rollins at all. Rollins doesn't like this, so he shoves him down. But Zayn and Uso come out to kind of break it up as they kind of respect both guys and don't want to see them fight. Punk and Uso then leave, and Rollins kind of tells Zayn to come back to the ring, asks why he teamed with Roman when they aren't even family. Zayn then cuts him off and says he asked Rollins to be on the team twice, but Rollins is too stubborn. Rollins says Zayn wanted to help Reigns get back to power, but Zayn says Rollins created the monster by hitting Reigns with the chair 10 years ago. Rollins reminds Zayn that when he turned on Roman in the first place, that he did the same damn thing, hitting him with the chair. And then says that Reigns hasn't changed and Zayn is being really stupid. And then Zayn just sees where this is kind of going and challenges him to a match later tonight in the main event. And then after Survivor Series, we get a video where Damian Priest and Finn Balor got into a fight in the parking lot. They go back to the Judgment Day, or more of the Judgment Day run in, and they kind of beat Priest down and leave him laying. Balor says he isn't happy with Dom and Liv's performances lately and not getting their jobs done over the past month or so. He says he's taking care of things and they better do it too. He says this also includes Liv facing Io Sky at Saturday night's main event. And their match that is coming up next, where they defeat Kairi Sane and Io Sky when Raquel hits the Tahana Bomb on Kairi Sane. Raquel then continues the beatdown afterwards until Rhea Ripley comes out, brawls with both of them until Liv is able to run Rhea's face kind of like eye first into the corner of the table to obviously somewhat re-injure her facial injury that she had over the last month or so. We then get Finn Balor and Dom Mysterio. They go see Gunther. They interrupt him talking in an interview, I believe. And Balor says that Gunther owes him a title shot because that's 2 times he's helped him beat Damian. Gunther isn't convinced, but he said he'd be glad to beat up Dominic tonight. So poor Dominic gets thrown into the wolves without even really saying much. Dakota Kai then defeats Shayna Baszler and Katana Chance to advance in the Women's Intercontinental Title Tournament when she hits the GTK on Shayna. We then get a pretty long video of the New Day's history. The things obviously haven't been going great over the past few weeks. Adam Pearce is out to kind of host the New Day's 10th anniversary, but he pretty much just brings them out. They have New Day memorabilia all over the stage and all around the ring. They have the Big Bootios box on the stage from WrestleMania in Dallas at WrestleMania 32. Kofi and Woods then come to the ring. And they get a New Day Rocks chance before they start talking. Woods then talks about how this is more than they could have ever dreamed, and thank the fans. Kofi kind of does the same, says he never believed this would happen, and it couldn't have been possible without the fans of them throughout the world. Woods then says they're about to tell you what they are about to tell you isn't the fans' fault. Kofi then teases that they are going to break up for good, but Big E actually comes out to interrupt and talk to them for a little bit. It obviously he's overcome with emotion when he comes out, because this is the first time he's kind of been out in the ring since his neck injury. He says he wishes he was here under different circumstances. He says seeing Kofi and Woods kind of argue over the last month or so has troubled him deeply. He said 10 years ago, Kingston was considering retirement and Woods was frustrated. Then the two of them were there when he was in a neck brace, making sure he was okay. Big E was the first person to be there when Woods won the King of the Ring and left tears on his shoulder. That's why Big E is going to be here every week to remind them who they are by serving as their manager. Woods then kind of snaps back and says, now you want to come back? Where is Big E when we've been fighting over the last few months? And then he accuses Big E of leaving them. Big E then says, I broke my neck, and, kind of yells at him. And then Kofi snipes in and says, you left us. You broke your neck. So what? Steve Austin, Kurt Angle, Edge broke their necks and came back without even having a family to come back to. As big, as strong as Big E is, he could have been back here sooner. Big E then tries to plead his case. Really, you can see the emotion in his eyes. Really emotional scene. But he kind of pleads his case about he's doing everything he can with the doctors. Woods then says he was back in 9 months after tearing his Achilles, which should have taken him much longer to recover from. And then he accuses, if Big E cared, he would have been back a long time ago. But Big E chose his new life and his new girlfriend over the New Day. Woods then calls Big E a burden, and because everyone says they miss him so much and don't really care about the other two. Kofi then says it's always been we before me, but Big E is all about himself. He's never going to be medically cleared, so get back to the desk where you belong. They'll call him if they need him, and Big E doesn't want to throw this away. It says they can fix this, but the two of them won't do it, and then Big E slowly leaves, and Kingston and Woods kind of look at each other and shake hands and say it's just them, and it's up to them to keep the New Day legacy going. So, yeah, like I said, super good segment. All three guys MVPs. If I gave out MVPs, this would probably get it. Just all three guys. Big E sold it super well. Kofi, probably one of his best promos ever. Just because, you kind of thought Woods was kind of be a dick throughout this and something was going to happen. But when, Kofi kind of doubles down with Woods, kind of shitting on Big E, it really hit another gear. So, because you kind of don't expect that from him. Because even when he was a heel, he was kind of like, a shit stir more than he was like just like an absolute dick like he was in this situation. Everything I've heard from Big E is that he's continuing to try and get medically cleared and stuff like that. But it just doesn't seem like it might ever happen. With this segment and how it happened, I got to think he's got to get some kind of revenge for how they treated him here. Even if it's just a Rumble, but if he's able to come back and do the Rumble, I hope he can do a match of some sort. Even if it's just one match and it's just to kind of blow this whole thing off. But, just with how this went, I think Big E somehow ends up back in the ring. And like I said, maybe throws both New Day guys out, other New Day guys out in the Rumble, and then maybe faces them in like a triple threat handicap kind of situation at WrestleMania. And even if that's it, it's good to see him back getting, maybe 2 matches under his belt. And then maybe if those go well, he can come back permanently. But just with how this went, I feel like Big E's got to get some kind of revenge somehow. And I don't think that they would use like somebody else with him managing them as in that situation. So, but we'll see. But like I said, a really good segment. We then get Karrion Kross. He talks about the Wyatt Six, how they went too far last week when they messed with Scarlett, when they sent Nikki Cross to kind of attack her. He says they started this fire and he's going to end it. We then get Gunther. He defeats Dom Mysterio via pinfall with a powerbomb. Finn Balor comes out and attacks him and hits Gunther with 3 coup de grace to kind of leave him laying. I believe throughout the night they announced that they'll face each other at Saturday night's main event. So that'll get announced at some point later. Pete Dunne is then ready to hurt R-Truth for calling him Butch. But we all kind of pan over with the camera to see that Jey Uso has been attacked and been left laying in the backstage. We then get R-Truth. He kind of squashes Pete Dunne via pinfall with a roll-up after Pete gets distracted by the crowd chanting Butch at him. So kind of a jokey segment and makes Pete look like a complete idiot. But, it's funny seeing R-Truth out there, but I think he should probably have taken the L in this situation, and especially not beat him as easily and convincingly as he did. But we then get Ludwig Kaiser. He interrupts Braun Breaker, says he's coming for that IC title because he did not get pinned at Survivor Series. Breaker likes a challenge, and after a heck of a match on Saturday, he'll talk to Adam Pearce about it. He tells him to get out of Gunther's shadow sooner because Gunther's stock is going down, and this obviously makes Kaiser kind of think about what Breaker just said. We then get Adam Pearce. He won't say who attacked Jey Uso, but Sami Zayn seems to think it was Seth Rollins. Finn Balor wants to know when he's getting his world title match, like I just said, and Adam Pearce makes it official for Saturday night's main event. He says first, though, Balor has another title match next week with an opponent to be named. So obviously him and JD McDonough will have to defend their tag team titles. So we'll see who that ends up being against. We then get our main event where Seth Rollins defeats Sami Zayn via pinfall with an inside cradle after Sami kind of hesitated to hit Rollins with a chair when Rollins kind of tries to convince him that he didn't attack Jey. And then after the match, Drew McIntyre returns and attacks Sami to end the show. So Drew McIntyre coming and making his presence felt by attacking Sami Zayn. So that seems to be where we'll be headed with those two guys going forward. And obviously it kind of implies that maybe Drew was the guy that took out Jey in the first place. So we'll see where that leads us. We'll then go to NXT. Rollins and Sami Zayn was absolutely the best match of Raw. There wasn't too much match in-ring stuff going on. So that main event definitely got some time and definitely was a solid contest. So check that one out. But like I said, we'll go for NXT from there. We get our Iron Survivor qualifier last chance match where all the losers of the qualifier matches kind of get put together and get another shot. But Ren Sinclair defeats Jada Parker, Cora Jade, and Kalani Jordan when Cora was about to get pinned by Jada, but Lola Vice comes out and accidentally hits a spinning back fist to Ren, and Ren just kind of falls onto Cora for the pinfall. So Ren will be in the Iron Survivor Challenge. We then get Eddie Thorpe. He says he's going to win tonight. He says he didn't do anything wrong last week when Ava got knocked down. Lexis King then comes in to say that Thorpe needs to stay calm, but tonight he will be on his path to winning a title. We then get Jada Parker. She calls out Lola Vice, and then we kind of go to break and come back. And she's asked for the NXT Underground match that Lola wants to be tonight. And all the referees and production people were kind of taking the ropes down to make that happen. Ava then comes out to make the match, but says it's for Deadline. But Lola Vice comes out and promises to knock Parker out. Parker says she kind of has the brick that they've been talking about over the last month or so in her hand. She says she doesn't need the brick and then knocks Vice out with a spinning back elbow. We then get Brinley Reese and Deion Lennox. They try to calm down Carmen Petrovich about Ashante the Adonis. Petrovich gets some flowers from Ashante, and then it says he sent the text to Nikita that has pissed her off before they even started talking, and she seems impressed by the gift. We then get Axiom and Nathan Frazier. They aren't on the same page about Deadline. about which match they should be focused on, their tag title match or the Iron Survivor that Frazier has qualified for, that Axiom also has a chance to qualify for at the end of the night. We then get the number one contenders battle royal for the tag team title shot at Deadline, and the no quarter catch crew of Miles Bourne and Tavion Heights win that and get the title shot at Deadline when they last eliminate Bronco Nima of OTM to win the match. Bourne, they didn't do this like a usual tag battle royal where if like your partner goes out, you're also out. So they let it just kind of go with all the competitors until the end, and Miles Bourne eliminates Bronco Nima to win the match. We then get the segment between the kind of face-off between Trick Williams and Ridge Holland, kind of moderated by Eric Bischoff. Bischoff talks about being on the cutting edge of wrestling and how awesome that has always been. It was a revolution in WCW, and now the same thing is going on here in NXT. He said 2 pieces of the puzzle to raise NXT up to the next level are his guests tonight, which are Holland and Williams, like I said. Bischoff talks about how Holland is like a throwback to wrestlers like the Crusher. Williams, or Trick, is the total package. And Trick pops back with, let's talk about it. But then Holland kind of cuts him off and calls Trick a stand-up comedian with abs. Holland then is ready to take the NXT title, but Trick calls him bland and boring. Holland then says that while Williams was a football player, Holland was playing a man's game in rugby. Trick then slugs away, and they kind of battle to the outside, and then Holland hits the Redeemer DDT on the announce table, and that leads to Trick getting taken away on a stretcher and kind of leaving his status up in the air for Deadline. We then get Carmen Petrovic. She defeats Nikita Lyons via pinfall when she gets the silent slice after a slight distraction from Ashante. But they have more problems after the match as Carmen kind of accuses him of shoving her, I believe, or something to that effect. So more drama between them two. We then get Sean Spears. He's almost ready to unleash Nico Vance, which has been his driver over the last month, but seems to be becoming more of a part of the show than usual. So another big guy to kind of fight some bigger guys in NXT. So we'll be interested to see what he's got to give in the ring. But then we pan over to Tatum Paxley and Gigi Dolan, and Spears tells Gigi that he'll be watching her match tonight. We then get the no quarter catch crew. They are all fired up after they got 2 big victories earlier tonight, with Ren qualifying for the Iron Survivor and the tag team of Heights and Bourne winning the Battle Royal. So and we then get Gigi Dolan's match where she defeats Izzy Dane via pinfall following the Gigi driver. We then get X-Pac, a.k.a. Sean Waltman. He praises Javon Evans. He says he was the same age as Evans was now when he defeated Razor Ramon. We then get the Last Chance Iron Survivor Challenge qualifier where Eddie Thorpe defeats Axiom, Lexis King, and Cedric Alexander when he pretty much stole the pinfall from Axiom, who had just hit in the golden ratio on Lexis King. We then cut to Ava's office, but she is gone and calls in and says the NXT title match is still on despite Trick's trip to the hospital. So he apparently is okay and will be good to go. Eddie Thorpe comes in looking for Ava and says he'll promise he'll win the NXT title after he wins at Deadline. We then get Roxanne Perez. She's out to have a chat in the ring. She said she's interested in the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge coming up on Saturday because it's what got her on the map in the first place. She won the first Iron Survivor Challenge, obviously. But everyone this time of year is fighting for second place. Any of them can get something out of winning, but nothing compares to stepping in the ring with her. And then all of the people in the match come out, interrupt her, and a big brawl is on, and it ends with Perez kind of getting knocked to the floor. So all the ladies in the Iron Survivor Challenge definitely gunning for Roxanne. And I think that match will end up happening at New Year's Eve like it usually does. So, but to end the show, we cut back to the locker room, and Eddie Thorpe has been laid out on the ground in the locker room, like I said. And people kind of rush to check on him as the show ends. So this ends up actually knocking him out of the match, and we get a surprise competitor. But like I said, I'll talk about that next week. But the men's Iron Survivor Last Chance match, I definitely would say was match of the night. Like I said, are a lot of building towards Deadline and some pretty good segments. But the both Last Chance matches were pretty good. But I'd give the heads up to the men. So we will go to Dynamite from there. We open with Kyle Fletcher defeating Shelton Benjamin via pinfall when he rolls him up and uses the ropes for leverage. This gives Fletcher the Blue League lead with 6 points and kind of keeps Shelton at 3 points. So he's a little bit, he'll have to do some catching up to catch up to old Fletcher, but Fletcher's in the lead with 6 points in the Blue League of the Continental Classic. Like I said earlier, they announced that Juice Robinson is out of the tournament and will be replaced by Commander. We then get Hook out. He's heard that Nick Wayne challenged him for a few weeks from now at Hammerstein Ballroom, but he would instead like to fight Christian Cage. The Patriarchy then come out, and obviously they beat him down, and they end up doing a concerto to Hook's hand and wrist to kind of hurt his most deadly objects. That he's kind of a striker, so they take away his ability to do that a little bit. We then get Mercedes in the back. She again doesn't care about Camille, but says she'll be paying attention to Anna Jay's match later tonight, as Anna Jay kind of implied that maybe she wants to come after Mercedes' title now. We then get MVP in the back. He is disappointed in Shelton Benjamin. Kind of him and Lashley kind of voiced their disappointment in him losing to Kyle Fletcher. And then to kind of make up for it, all of them beat the crap out of some production assistants and some security. So they just beat the crap out of some random guys standing backstage. We then get our Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal, where Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole win, and they will face each other next week for the opportunity to face MJF at World's End. And then O'Reilly kind of nudges by Adam Cole and kind of hits him with his shoulder on his way by after the match. So more tension there. We then get more Julia Hart weirdness kind of aimed at Jamie Hayter, saying she's kind of coming back to come after her. But we'll see when that ends up happening. We then get Swerve Strickland. He defeats Max Caster in a pretty quick squash. He hits him with 2 house calls and then gets the pinfall. And then after the match, he ends up doing a swerve stomp to kind of add an exclamation point to it. We then get an MJF promo. He says all of this is Adam Cole's fault, including Roderick Strong having a broken arm. He knows Cole can't beat Kyle O'Reilly, and we'll see that when it happens next week. We then get Jay White. He defeats Pac via pinfall following a Blade Runner. Yuta comes in after and eats a Blade Runner as well. Shafir then comes out enough to distract and allow Mox to come up and attack Jay White. Hangman and OC or Orange Cassidy then come out and are able to take out the Death Riders. And then Christian Cage kind of emerges in the entranceway and stands there with his world title contract, looking like he's interested in maybe getting involved, but never comes. We then get Jamie Hayter. She doesn't know what Julia Hart has against her, but she's ready to win the International Women's Cup. But for now, she's willing to come and find Hart wherever she is. We then get Chris Jericho. He's ready to defend the Ring of Honor World title at Final Battle. He says we'll find out tomorrow who his challenger is on Ring of Honor. I wrote down, as I don't cover Ring of Honor anymore, it is revealed later that it is Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona, obviously Zack Ryder of previous WWE fame. But Cardona's killing it on the indies. He's been on TNA. He's been all over GCW. He's really been pretty much anywhere you can think of. So big get for them to have as an opponent for Jericho at Final Battle. But again, not an ROH guy, not building anybody to take that title and kind of up that brand. So another booking faux pas for old Tony Khan on that one. But maybe they'll get it one day. We'll see. But should be a solid match between two over guys. We then kind of get an old Western themed kind of video. I didn't really know what it was going to be for at first, but it talks about how someone is coming back, and the sheriff of whatever town it is scared of whoever it seems to be. And then there's a wanted poster that gets put up and lets us know that Bandito is on his way back from injury. Um, we then get Anna Jay. She defeats Penelope Ford via pinfall following the Gory Bomb. And then Mercedes comes out and laughs off the idea that Anna Jay would be a threat to her at all. Jay then comes back when has she done some, or sorry, let me say that again. Mercedes tells Anna Jay to come back when she's done something in wrestling. So Anna Jay slaps the shit out of her, and Mercedes kind of bails after that. We then get a sit-down interview with Mariah May, who doesn't think much of Renee, who's interviewing her. May then wants Mina Shirikawa to do something other than shake her chest. So Mina kind of shows up behind her, hands her a champagne bottle, and then Mina says, "Do it" to her face, which has Mariah a little bit shaken after that. We then get Claudia Signoli defeating Brody King via pinfall when he goes low and then hits the neutralizer. And this gives Claudio the lead in the Gold League with 6 points. A really solid match, but I would go with Kyle Fletcher and Shelton Benjamin as my match of the night, as that was the main event. So, but the opener between Fletcher and Benjamin I thought was just slightly a little bit better, but both really solid matches in the grand scheme of things. So, but we'll go to Impact from there. We get a 5-way match for the number 1 contendership for the X Division title, where Kushida defeats Trent Seven, Ace Austin, JDC, and Leon Slater when he hits the Back to the Future on Slater. We then get Tasha Steele. She's ready to get rid of the thorn in her side that is Jordan Grace. We then get PCO and Sami Callihan. They defeat the good hands of John Schuyler and Jason Hotch when PCO and Sammy hit the old Quebecers finisher called the Cannonball, I believe. It's basically Sammy holds PCO's hands and he does a swanton, basically. And then we get after the match, the light's going to go out and the numbers 23 or 2 and 3 appear on the screen, and that'll be a mystery that we'll have going forward, I guess. We get Nick Nemeth in the back, but he's cut off by First Class. AJ Francis says he wants the world title, and then Santino comes in and says the match is on for final resolution. So I guess all you have to do is, pretty much say you want a world title shot, and Santino will give it to you. We then get the Hardys defending the tag team titles against the System, and they win via DQ when Alicia gets involved with a kendo stick. And then after the match, the System put both Hardys through the table outside of the ring. We then get Spitfire, the women's tag team champions. They're a bit annoyed at each other, but they're ready to fight Ash and Heather by Elegance whenever that match ends up happening. We then get Santino announcing that the Hardys and the System will have a tables match at Final Resolution. When they get PCO and Sami Callihan, they want to know what the 23 was about, and they accuse Hammerstone and Jake something of being behind it, but that's not true. But they seem like they'll have a tag team match down the line between the 4 of them. We then get Tasha Steele. She actually defeats Jordan Grace via pinfall. She does a backslide and puts her feet on the top rope. And then after the match, Alicia and Tasha attack until Masha makes the save. So we have a lot of shuz in that little rivalry there. Masha makes a save for Jordan. So probably another tag match between those 4 coming in the future. And then we get our main event where the Northern Armory of Sinner and Saint and Josh Alexander, they and Kazarian defeat Steve Macklin, Eric Young, Jonathan Gresham, and Mike Santana when Kazarian cracks Gresham over the head with his cup that he won at Bound for Glory. And then Alexander kind of steals the cover by getting the pin on Jonathan Gresham. But that 8-man tag, I would say, was the best match of the night on Impact. Just they're starting their build to Final Resolution, so we'll see where that kind of leads. But we got Kushida taking on Moose for the X Division title, and it seems like Tasha Steeles may be the contender for Masha this time. But some interesting stuff headed towards there. They have a couple of free agent kind of signings that may take a few big talents away from them coming up pretty soon. So it'll be interesting to see if Impact can kind of recover from those losses. But they haven't happened yet, obviously. But I kind of see a couple of them coming in the future. But We'll see. We'll see where they seem to always kind of rebound. So we'll see who and how they do that with. Um, but we'll go from there to SmackDown to end the week. We get commentary. They recap the men's War Games. There were 3 pretty significant injuries throughout, where Bronson Reed broke his ankle or his foot, I believe. Tongaloa actually tore his bicep, so he's going to be out for a little bit. And then Jimmy Uso broke his toe. And they kind of announced that they're all out indefinitely, but don't actually say how long. I would think Bronson, with that injury, is probably going to be out the longest. A broken foot seems like a tough injury for him to kind of work through at his size, of course. Tongaloa is not too disappointing to see go out, I'd say. I hate it for him, obviously, tearing his bicep, but Jimmy with the broken toe, I think he could probably work through that a little bit, but he might be out for at least a month or so. But we'll see where they go with that. But the rest of Solo's bloodline comes in, Tama Tonga, Jacob Fatu, and himself, and they kind of nudge past Apollo Crews, and they take him and some security guys out as they enter the arena. We then get Cody Rhodes. He's out for a chat. Rhodes gets right to the point, talking about Kevin Owens and Saturday night's main event. But American Made actually come out from. They seem to have been Raw superstars before this, but they come out and cut him off. There's apparently a new transfer window opening up, so kind of stealing something from college football or college sports in general there, where the transfer portal. But apparently Nick Aldis has been talking about bringing Chad Gable to SmackDown. He said you have to remember that the people here in Minnesota are gullible, so you have to explain things to them. Gable said he wanted to be like Rhodes and he can dress like him, but there is more to it than that. The other thing Gable realizes is that Rhodes is a terrible friend, just like Otis. Rhodes is Rhodes is the definition of superficial because he only cares about what people think of him. That obviously has Cody thinking, and he brings up Gable's time as Shorty G, but then Gable says he's looking at Stardust, so a little bit of a shot back and forth there. Rhodes, he says Rhodes lost last year at WrestleMania, and it made him think things could go wrong. What happens when things go wrong for Chad Gable? That doesn't go well for Chad Gable, who says he would take Rhodes out if he was not wearing a suit. Rhodes then cuts to the point and issues a challenge for tonight, but he's got Kevin Owens on the mind, which is bad for Chad Gable. So Chad Gable and Cody Rhodes will be our main event on SmackDown. We then get Bianca Belair and Naomi in the back. They say they are both banged up from the War Games match. Naomi leaves for her match when Chelsea Green and Piper Niven come in and kind of mock Bianca for her loss in the U.S. title tournament. Belair then thinks Niven might have taken out Jade Cargill, so they kind of have a little bit of a brawl with Chelsea obviously going for Belair's bad ribs that she kind of had taped up. We then get Tiffany Stratton. She advances in the United States Women's Title Tournament by defeating Naomi and Elektra Lopez when she hits the PME, prettiest moonsault ever, on Elektra. We then get commentary. They talk about the tournament, but we go back and we see that the Street Profits have been attacked. Nick Aldis goes to deal with it and runs into the Machine Guns, who he tells the match isn't going to happen later on. Johnny Gargano then pops in and says DIY can take the shot, and the Guns ends up actually agreeing to that. So the match is made, and Aldis tells Gargano to tell Tommaso to not make him regret this. We then get Bianca. She defeats Piper Niven via pinfall. She actually hits the KOD onto Chelsea Green, who had tried to interfere. So awesome show of strength, but also gets a little spot over on Chelsea there too as well. We then look back at some Survivor Series highlights. We get highlights of the U.S. title match between Nakamura and LA Knight, and then the Women's War Games. So some highlights from both of those. We then get Bianca. She's walking through the back, runs again into Naomi, says she's sick of Tiffany and Candice LeRae. But Byron Saxton comes in to say that Piper Niven has an alibi for the Jade Cargill attack. And then Belair and Naomi say they are going to find out who did this. We then get Shinsuke Nakamura. He comes out to talk a little bit, but LA Knight interrupts him before he can even say anything. Knight doesn't know much of Nakamura as the U.S. champion because the title belongs to him. The challenge is on for a rematch, but Nakamura just stands there. Knight says that the only thing Nakamura has done to his face is spray that mist, so he puts some sunglasses on to kind of block it out. Andrade then comes out and interrupts. Knight says that this is his title, and Andrade can have the first shot once he wins it back. But then the Bloodline comes out, takes out LA Knight and Andrade. They seem to kind of be going for Nakamura, but Nakamura has the mist. It looks like a goo is like coming out of his mouth. So the Bloodline kind of seem to not attack him or don't attack him for that reason. And Nakamura just kind of bails. And then the Bloodline continue to take out Andrade and LA Knight. Solo Sikoa grabs the mic, says the Bloodline isn't done. And even though they are down 2 soldiers, tells everybody to step up and take a shot. He says anyone who steps up will get taken out, and he's tired of not being taken seriously. He is still the tribal chief, still the head of the table, so everyone is going to acknowledge him. We then get Tommaso talking to Gargano. He says getting them a title shot doesn't fix everything. We'll see how the match goes tonight and if they win the titles to kind of see if that relationship can be mended. We then get Kevin Owens. He's not happy about having to be in Minneapolis for a sit-down interview with Michael Cole. He never wants to be in this town, especially for something with Michael Cole. Owens is at the arena. He says, come find him in his car, and then they'll have that chat. We then get the WWE Tag Team Championship match between DIY and the Motor City Machine Guns. And DIY actually becomes the new tag team champions when Gargano turns heel, low blows Chris Sabin. That would be funny if he low blowed Nick Saban. But he low blows Chris Sabin. Been watching a little too much college football lately, I guess. But he low blows Chris Sabin, super kicks Alex Shelley. And then he and Tommaso Ciampa hit the meet in the middle on Sabin. And then post-match, they go to the back, and Candice LeRae celebrates with them. And then Tommaso says he needs to go call his family. We then get Michael Cole. He's gone to the parking lot to find Kevin Owens' car, where Owens insists that they talk in there. Owens hasn't been allowed to go into an arena since Bad Blood and laughs at the idea that Cole wants him to do an unbiased interview. Cole then talks about being a big Owens supporter, but Owens goes off about Roman Reigns trying to end his career. Cody then called him an egomaniac, but who has 3 sets of pyros during his entrance? Not Owens, but obviously Rhodes has that in his situation. Cole then brings up the Usos and Sami Zayn helping Roman Reigns, sending Owens into another tangent about how he doesn't care about the Usos. He'll cross that bridge with Zayn when they get there, but Cole doesn't understand this because he doesn't have any friends. Cole tells Owens to look in the mirror, and then Owens says, "Okay, I'll look in the mirror. I see a handsome man who's completely right." Owens then tells him to leave his rental vehicle right now, and with Cole out, he is annoyed and peels out and just drives really fast out of the arena. We then get Nick Aldis. He's with Gunther, but Carmelo Hayes comes up and doesn't approve. Gunther leaves, and Hayes asks why Aldis doesn't have any time for him. He says if Aldis can't find time for him, Monday Night Mellow sounds good to him. Aldis says that not having to deal with Carmelo sounds like something that deserves balloons and a cake. He has something planned for Hayes and then walks off. So we'll see what that entails next week, because in our main event, Cody Rhodes defeats Chad Gable via pinfall with the Crossroads, and then post-match, Kevin Owens is here and stomps on the ankle that Chad Gable had been working on throughout the match, and then referees and agents can't keep them apart, and they fight until the show goes to a close. We then, that match was definitely the best match of the night. Chad Gable's an awesome TV worker. Cody, when he's in there with somebody like that, can put together a pretty good match. So, really, really good stuff. Definitely one of the better matches of the week. And I'll get straight into that with our TV match rankings. Not Claudio versus Brody. Fletcher versus Benjamin would be number 1. Thought the match was really good. I thought it was very, very strong. And was definitely that best match on Dynamite. Cody versus Chad Gable would be number 2 for me. Claudio and Brody would then be number 3 for me. Fletcher versus Mortos would be number 4 for me for the week. And then Okada versus Garcia that ended in the draw would be number 5. And then as far as pay-per-view match rankings, there were only 5 matches. So I will go through the 5 matches and how I thought they kind of worked out. As I said earlier, the men's war game match would be number 1 for me. The IC title match would be right under that. You can kind of interchange the next 2, but I went with Gunther Priest at number 3, and then Nakamura and Knight at number 4, and then obviously the women's war games comes in at number 5. So, like I said, maybe not their strongest effort. A little botchy in the beginning and just kind of poorly laid out, but Survivor Series was a solid card, and like I said, that women's war games did kind of build towards the end, but was pretty crappy in the opening portions, and just wasn't very well produced, I would say. But yeah, that'll do it for the week. Thank you for joining me as always, and we'll see you next week.